Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name is Serge.
And my name is James.
And whilst there is no football and no Fantasy Premier League, it's quiz time. Wednesday is our quiz day. And so we're going to hit you with a quiz, James.
Yeah, back on it. One for Premier League nostalgics, this one, I think. We're going to look at the quiz is based on Premier League hat-tricks in one way or another. Obviously, Premier League dating from 1992 till now.
Yep.
Are you ready to go?
Yes, I've done a reasonable amount of research, James. So I feel like
okay.
Thing is, though, it's so hard to know what you're going to even ask. Like, is it going to be who was the first person to ever score a hat-trick in the Premier League, for example, or is it going to be like something really obscure? Who was the first person from XYZ country to score a hat-trick in 1992 with only their left foot?
No, I'm not going to go that bad on you.
Okay.
More the former. I think people are a bit excited for your performance, Suj, because much better on the old Euro 96 quiz last week.
Well, they will be disappointed very soon, but, you know, let's string them along for a little while. I'll tell you one thing I did think, whilst I was doing a bit of research and watching a few YouTube videos and stuff, there was a video, I can't remember the YouTube channel, but they were talking about stats or records that Ronaldo and Messi hadn't broken yet. And one of them was the most hat-tricks. So in their career, who has scored the most career hat-tricks? Do you know?
What, in world football?
Correct.
Pele? I don't know.
Pele.
Yeah.
Do you know how many hat-tricks he scored?
50 plus.
93 hat-tricks. I was like, boys, there's no way you're catching that man's record of 93 hat-tricks.
That's madness. That's 279 goals, mate. 279 goals scored in hat-tricks. I know it's probably a few in there where he's got 4 5s and stuff as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we can make assumptions about the quality of football in those days and stuff, but still 93. I was like, that's a stat that's blown me. So let's hope your questions are not as mad as that, James.
I can assure you that none of the answers to this quiz are Pele. There are, as usual, 20 questions. There are a total of 35 possible answers. So a lot of these questions have more than one answer. Some just have the one. I'll obviously explain when I do the questions. Are you ready, Suj?
I'm ready. I've got down to writing number 7.
There's a huge problem with this, Suj, because people are going to think you now know the questions. Question 1. Who scored the first ever Premier League hat-trick?
Oh, comedy.
Question 1. Who scored the first ever Premier League hat-trick? Obviously, just a reminder, Premier League is from 1992 till present. First one was scored in the 92-93 season.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be weird if there was an entire season with no hat-tricks.
The one that was the fewest, because I did have a look through, 2007, 2008, only had 3.
In the whole season?
In the whole
Incredible.
Season. Yeah, and it's not one of the answers, so I'll reveal it was Rooney, Drogba and Crouch were the scorers of those 3 hat-tricks. 3 hat-tricks in a season, that's small.
Nothing.
It's actually a trend. It seems to be a trend where it's happening less and less. Question 2. Sadio Mane holds the record for the fastest hat-trick at 2 minutes and 56 seconds versus Aston Villa. In what year did this take place?
Nice.
Not the season, the year.
Oh, that's not so nice.
It doesn't make a difference.
I've got a choice of 2 now, right?
I don't know.
The seasons span over 2 years. So what you're saying is if it was the 92-93 season, which it's not, you want to know whether it was 92 or 93.
Correct. I want to know the year, not the season.
So I know the season. I don't remember the year. So what I'm saying is I've got a 1 in 2 chance.
I won't say any more then. So Sadio Mane holds the record for the fastest ever Premier League hat-trick. 2 minutes and 56 seconds versus Aston Villa. In what year did this take place?
Oh, my neck. Yeah, cool.
Question 3 has 2 answers, 1 point for each. Only 2 players have scored a Premier League hat-trick of headers. Who are they? Only 2 players have scored a Premier League hat-trick of headers. Who are they?
Okay.
Question 4. Which player scored a hat-trick at Boundary Park, the only televised hat-trick in the first Premier League season? Which player scored a hat-trick at Boundary Park, the only televised hat-trick in the first Premier League season? For many of these questions, I think watching Premier League years would have come in very handy. For quite a few of these answers, it won't. This is one where watching Premier League years would have really helped you, because you probably remember it.
That's gonna be a stab. It's gonna be a guess.
Okay. Are you ready for question 5, Suj?
Correct. Yes, I am.
There are 5 possible answers for question 5. And 5 players have scored hat-tricks for West Ham United in the Premier League. All of them English. Name all 5. So 5 players have scored hat-tricks for West Ham United in the Premier League. All of them English. Name all 5. 1 point for each correct answer from those 5. How's your West Ham memory, Suj, without naming too many names?
2 jump off the page straight away. Then I need some time to think about it. But the problem is now you're going to ask me another question, so I'm going to have to come back, and when you're recapping all of the questions, I'll take some time to have a think about it.
Yeah, just to give the people a minute. Do you find that mad that no foreign players scored a hat-trick for you?
Oh, haven't they?
No. It's 5 different players. It's 6 hat-tricks in total. One of these players scored 2. But so there's only 5 different players who scored hat-tricks for West Ham, all of them English.
Considering how many foreign players we buy, yes.
Yeah, I think it's quite mad, actually.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Question 6 is a nice, easy one to follow that one. Alan Shearer has scored 11 Premier League hat-tricks. How many of them did he score for Newcastle? Alan Shearer has scored 11 Premier League hat-tricks. How many of them did he score for Newcastle?
Don't know.
Well, you only got to pick a number for that one, so I thought brain-wise it was probably not too bad for your following question 5.
Let's just have an average stab at... Yeah.
Are you ready for question 7?
I'm still thinking about number 5, James.
Would you like some more time for question 5?
Nah, let's...
I'll read them all again at the end anyway.
I'll come back to it. Yeah, go on.
Question 7. Marcus Bent scored a hat-trick in a game between Wigan and Blackburn on December the 15th, 2007. Who else also scored a hat-trick in the same game?
Wigan against?
Blackburn. Marcus Bent scored a hat-trick in a game between Wigan and Blackburn on December the 15th, 2007. Who else scored a hat-trick in the same game? You might notice I didn't say who Bent was playing for.
Well, I just assumed.
Marcus Bent's played for everybody.
It's true. I shouldn't have made the assumption, should I? I just assumed.
Are you ready? Okay. Are you ready for question 8?
Yes, I am.
Who is the only Swede to score a Premier League hat-trick? Who is the only Swedish player to score a Premier League hat-trick?
It's not a striker.
Am I meant to comment here as quizmaster on it's not a goalkeeper or?
Well, No, I'm just looking for some help and guidance here.
Well, I'm asking the questions. I'm not doing the answering.
Oh, man.
Happy, not happy?
I mean, if it was England and Scotland, then it could be in Larsson for Celtic, but it's not. So it's not.
So you know definitely that this is not Henrik Larsson?
I never.
I'm not talking about this anymore.
I never say anything, and is 100% certain. Go on, hit me with question number 9.
Question 9. It's kind of multiple choice, but there's no multiple choice options. Paolo Wanchope scored 1 Premier League hat-trick. Who did he score it for?
Well,
yeah, don't say it. I know what you're thinking, but don't say it.
Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking is who is not.
Paolo Wanchope scored 1 Premier League hat-trick. Who did he score it for?
Okay.
Question 10 has 4 possible answers. Who are the 4 Brazilians to score Premier League hat-tricks?
Oh. Sorry, this means you can't see me put my hand over my mouth with my thinking man face.
Question 10. Who are the 4 Brazilians to score Premier League hat-tricks?
I know 2.
Do you know the other 2?
See, this is the thing that people realise when I'm in the quiz, James. I'm not...
very knowledgeable.
Before I can figure out what that's who, before I can figure out who were the 4 Brazilians that scored hat-tricks, I had to find 4 Brazilians that played in the Premier League.
Well, stop thinking about Alisson and Edison. Get them out your head for a change.
Yeah, and then I think about my boy at West Ham, and he hasn't scored a hat-trick.
Yeah, I don't know if he's had 3 shots on target, mate.
He scored a few perlers.
Are you ready for question 11, which is multiple choice? Are you there, Suj?
I'm here. I'm still thinking about West Ham. Go on, question 11, multiple choice. Is it ABC or ABCDE? How many options have I got? Because I'll just pick one now.
There are 4 options. Which one of these non-European players has not scored a Premier League hat-trick against Liverpool?
Non-European players, not against Liverpool.
Yeah, so basically, which one of these players has not scored a Premier League hat-trick against Liverpool? A, Clint Dempsey. B, Kevin Lisby. C, Peter Unlove. D, Mark Viduka. Which one of these players has not scored a Premier League hat-trick against Liverpool? A, Clint Dempsey. B, Kevin Lisby. C, Peter Unlove. D, Mark Viduka.
Don't know the answer to that, James, I'm afraid. I'm just going to go straight in with one of the options.
Question 12. Who was the first player from outside of Europe to score a Premier League hat-trick?
Outside of Europe?
Correct. Who was the first player from outside Europe to score a Premier League hat-trick?
Any clues, James? Come on, country?
Country?
Yeah,
it was African. There you go. It was African.
Oh, a continent's better than nothing, I suppose. It could have been South America.
Question 12. Which African player was the first player from outside of Europe to score a Premier League hat-trick? Is that better, Suj?
Yeah.
I'll give you that. I think it's one, if you don't know it, you didn't know it, it's tough, but it's one that a lot of people will know, I think. Question 13. How many... Go on.
I think I know it. Yeah.
You think you know it? Oh, okay, right, okay.
Well, yeah, he was one that popped up on the list of when you're looking at who scored quite a few hat tricks. He was there, and I was like, I remember him. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, I remember him. He was all right.
Okay, all right, he was all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question 13: how many hat tricks did Luis Suarez score against Norwich? Question 13: how many hat tricks did Luis Suarez score against Norwich? It felt like, from memory, it was every time he fucking played them. That's not correct, by the way.
Yeah, and they obviously didn't cross paths that much in the Premier League. They can't play too many games against each other, could they?
I don't know, mate. Well, I do know, but...
You know how many games they played against each other?
I have an idea. I'm not going to tell you. Suj, it's not double figures. Calm down.
No, I know. It's like it's a choice of. Okay, I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to go with a number.
Question 14, 14 has two answers. Who are the youngest and the oldest players to score Premier League hat tricks?
Oh, youngest and oldest.
Youngest and oldest. Who are the youngest and oldest players to score Premier League hat tricks? 1 point for each.
The youngest is interesting one.
So it's the oldest.
Yeah, true. I've got a couple of names that jump to mind very quickly for the youngest. I'll end up let's go with that. And oldest.
Okay. Question 15 has 3 possible answers.
Yep.
I'm going to give you 3 clubs, all of which have only had 1 Premier League hat trick. You need to tell me the player from those clubs who has scored their hat trick. So who has scored the only Premier League hat trick for these 3 clubs? Burnley, Watford, and Wolves. Who scored the only Premier League hat trick for Burnley, Watford, and Wolves? Question 16.
They sound like they're quite recent, James.
Common sense would possibly suggest so, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
But the problem with common sense, James, it's not very common. Okay.
It's not early 90s for any of those 3, I can say. I mean, the first one of those that appeared in the Premier League was Watford in, I think, 99-2000. So it narrows you down from 28 years to 20 years, if that helps. Question 16. Who is the only Scottish player to score a Premier League hat-trick this century?
This century?
I've also narrowed you down to the last 20 years there, haven't I? Who is the only Scottish player to score a Premier League hat-trick this century? There were a number in the 90s, but there's only been 1 since 1999.
Yeah, I would have preferred it if it was the 90s, James.
Well, the 90s, there was loads.
I feel, yeah. You know when an answer comes to your mind straight away, and then it's probably wrong, but you can't get it out of your mind.
Okay.
He's still playing, isn't he?
I don't know if I want to give that away. Yeah, all right. He's still playing somewhere, not necessarily in the Premier League. There you go. Ready for 17, Suj?
Kinda, sorta.
Question 17. In total, there have been 9 hat-tricks by Norwegians. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has scored 3 of
8.
them.
Oh, okay, I thought he'd got 8 out of the 9.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has scored 3 of the 9 Norwegian hat-tricks. Who is the only other Norwegian to get more than 1?
I've got it down. I've got a name down already.
So in total, there have been 9 Norwegian Premier League hat-tricks. Solskjaer has 3 of them. Who is the only other Norwegian to get more than 1?
Well, I thought you were going to say name the others, and he was the first one that came to mind. So I think I'm hopeful. Okay. I'm hopeful.
Question 18. Which player scored an opening day treble against Arsenal in 1993? Which player scored an opening day treble against Arsenal in 1993? And if it helps, I'll happily say it was at Highbury.
It's against Arsenal. There's going to be a Spurs player because you want to get it in there that you beat them or something like that, isn't it?
Would Arsenal and Tottenham ever play each other on the opening day of the season?
No, that's probably not going to happen, is it?
Which player scored an opening day treble against Arsenal at Highbury in 1993? Question 19. Who scored 3 of Manchester City's 8 goals in the 8-0 win over Watford in September? Obviously, the September just gone, 2019. Who scored 3 of Manchester City's 8 goals in the 8-0 win over Watford in September?
Okay.
The final question, Suj, has 5 possible answers.
Oh, come on.
Well, of course, let you think about it at the end, right? 5 players have scored 5 goals in a Premier League game.
Yep.
Andy Cole, Alan Shearer, Jermaine Defoe, Dimitar Berbatov, and Sergio Aguero. But can you name the 5 goalkeepers who conceded these 5 goal hauls? Silence is golden, golden.
If you'd have given us the clubs that if you'd given us the clubs, we might stand a chance, James.
Oh, I think a lot of people will get all 5 here, mate. Obviously, high-scoring games, aren't they?
Yeah.
So 5 players have scored 5 goals in a game. Andy Cole, Alan Shearer, Jermaine Defoe, Dimitar Berbatov, and Sergio Aguero. Can you name the 5 goalkeepers who conceded these 5 goal hauls? 1 point for each.
Right.
You need some time to fill in a few answers, correct?
Yes.
Therefore, I will run through all the questions again.
Jammers.
Question 1. Who scored the first ever hat-trick? Obviously, these are all Premier League related. Question 2. Sadio Mane holds the record for fastest ever hat-trick against Aston Villa. In what year did this take place? Question 3. Name the 2 players who have scored Premier League hat-trick of headers. Question 4. Which player scored a hat-trick at Boundary Park, the only televised hat-trick in the first Premier League season? Question 5. 5 Englishmen have scored hat-tricks for West Ham United. Name all of them. 5 Englishmen that score hat-tricks for West Ham United. Question 6. Alan Shearer scored 11 Premier League hat-tricks. How many of them did he score for Newcastle? Question 7. Marcus Bent scored a hat-trick in a game between Wigan and Blackburn on December the 15th, 2007. Who else scored a hat-trick in the same game? Question 8. Who is the only Swedish player to score a hat-trick? Question 9. Paulo Wanchope scored 1 Premier League hat-trick. Who did he score it for? Question 10. Who are the 4 Brazilian players to score Premier League hat-tricks? Question 11 was multiple choice. Which of these players have not scored a hat-trick against Liverpool? Clint Dempsey, Kevin Lisbie, Peter and Love, Mark Viduka. Question 12, who was the first player from Africa and also the first from outside of Europe to score a Premier League hat-trick? Question 13, how many hat-tricks did Luis Suarez score against Norwich? Question 14, who are the youngest and oldest players to score Premier League hat-tricks? Question 15, 3 possible answers, please. Who has scored the only hat-trick for these clubs? Burnley, Watford, and Wolves. Question 16, who is the only Scottish player to score a hat-trick this century? Question 17, Ole Solskjaer has 3 of the 9 Norwegian hat-tricks scored in the Premier League. Who is the only other Norwegian to get more than 1? Question 18, which player scored an opening day treble against Arsenal at Highbury in 1993? Question 19, who from Manchester City's team got 3 of their 8 goals in the 8-0 win against Watford in September? And question 20, the 5 players to score 5 goals in a Premier League game: Cole, Shearer, Defoe, Berbatov and Aguero. But can you name the 5 goalkeepers those 5 goal hauls were scored against? How are you looking, Suj?
Ah. Not good.
Not good.
No.
I'll tell you what, while you're looking, I'm going to talk about something. The Prime Minister in Holland has banned professional sport until September the 1st.
Yeah.
And I don't know why this is not the major headline on like Sky Sports News at the moment.
Yeah. Even behind closed doors, it's completely not allowed, right?
Nothing. They can't train. They can't do anything. That's my understanding.
All professional sport.
Yeah.
But surely if the players decide that they're not going to take any money, they become amateur, don't they?
Well, there's so many knock-ons on this. There's knock-ons to the UEFA competition. UEFA were retargeting finishing Champions League at the end of August, weren't they?
Yeah.
What a Dutch club's going to do. I don't think there's any left in the Champions League, but there'll certainly be 1 or 2 in Europa League, I guess. And it's probably more the fault that if Holland have done that, they're not going to be the only ones.
No.
And Germany reckon they're going to restart in like 3 or 4 weeks. They border each other. It's not happening. I don't. People are living in a dream world.
It's mad. Absolute madness.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe Holland will go and play all their games in Germany. Just shove the squads into Germany for 4 months or something.
I was just having an interesting conversation because we've got some work out in Germany, Teva out in Germany. I was like, I'm teaching my kids German, mate, because the rate of death of coronavirus in Germany compared to here is absolutely ridiculous. Just very few people are dying there.
You know they're efficient, mate. They don't muck about. People want Germans understand when a rule gets enforced. That's it. It's a rule.
Stick by it. They really do.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. I reckon I'm going to be good for 12 out of 35. That's what I'm predicting.
Have you got answers for everything?
No.
Like, nothing's blank.
1993 Arsenal is blank right now.
Okay.
I've only got 2 goalkeepers for number 20.
Okay. Well, you've got a few minutes while we do the answers to think of more, haven't you?
Well, it'd help knowing the games. But I know some of these are wrong.
Okay. Serge, tell everyone the answer to question 1. Who scored the first ever Premier League hat-trick?
If I had a collar, I'd put it up, but I don't.
I'll put mine up.
Eric Cantona.
Who did he score it for, Serge?
Not Man United, Leeds.
Yeah, for Leeds. Who did he score it against?
No, I don't know.
It's against Spurs.
Oh, was it?
A 5-0 win at Ellen Road's 4th or 5th game of 92-93. He was actually the only overseas player, non-British or Irish, to score a Premier League hat-trick in that first season, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
It was the only one, yeah. Question 2. Sadio Mane holds the record for fastest ever hat-trick. What year did that happen, Suj?
I went with 15.
is the correct answer. The correct year that you're looking for is 2015.
All downhill from here now, James.
Okay. Question 3. Who are the 2 players to score hat-tricks with their head in the Premier League?
So I went with Andy Carroll and Shearer.
Okay.
Andy Carroll, because he used to score a lot of goals with his head. Basically, almost all his goals came with his head, unless he's overhead kicking it into the top corner. And Alan Shearer scored a lot of hat-tricks. I mean, second highest hat-trick scorer. So
just generally, yeah.
Yeah, he scored 11. So I went with Carroll and Shearer, but I feel like it's a defender in there somewhere. So
a defender with a hat-trick, yeah?
You never know. That happens, right? VVD gets 2 in games sometimes. You could easily pop up with 3.
Yeah, maybe that day's coming for Trent and not too far away. What's really interesting here is both your answers, Suj, are incorrect. And they have, of course, both played for Newcastle, as have the 2 correct answers.
Oh, really?
Which are Duncan Ferguson.
Okay, another, yeah.
And Solomon Rondon.
Okay.
I think that's one. It's one of them. If people have seen or heard that, they'll know it. It's one that sticks in the brain, I think. Question 4. Which player scored a hat-trick at Boundary Park, the only televised hat-trick in the first Premier League season? Does help if you know who plays at Boundary Park for a start, I guess.
Well, I knew Oldham played at Boundary Park.
Yeah, correct. Not everyone will know that.
I assumed it was an opposition player, not an Oldham player.
It was an opposition player, yeah.
I just put Giggs down, but...
The correct answer is Mark Robbins of Norwich City. We did a podcast, Suj, a few weeks back on a Thursday, and I spoke about this hat-trick.
Yeah, okay.
That's why you just can't afford to miss Planet FPL content, guys.
No.
Yes, it was on a Monday night.
Each other, yeah.
Question 5 was, who were the 5 Englishmen to score hat-tricks for West Ham and the only players to score Premier League hat-tricks for West Ham? How many answers do you have, Suj?
5.
Come on in. You name them one by one and I'll say correct or wrong.
Can I go in order of how confident I am?
You can do it however you like, mate.
Okay. Paul Kitson.
Correct.
Marlon.
Marlon what?
Harewood. There's only one Marlon, mate. There's only one Marlon.
I don't know. Has there been any other Marlons to play in the Premier League? Marlon King, I think, springs to mind.
I don't know if he's played for us.
No, for Watford. Marlon Harewood is correct.
Andy Carroll?
Is correct.
Now, the 90s, I've put down Tony Cottee.
Is correct.
Okay.
And?
No, I'm going to say Noble.
Mark Noble, yeah?
Yeah.
I so thought you were going to get that right because when you went no, you just went the wrong way.
It's Nolan. It's Nolan.
It's Kevin Nolan.
He finished the season as our top goal scorer, if not more than once. And I feel like, I was like, no, Noble. Because then I'm thinking, who's the other Englishman? And then you start scraping the bottom of the barrel. Do you know what? I'll take 4 out of 5 for that.
Good effort, mate.
Kitson was the first one that jumped to mind, then Harewood, then Carroll.
Well, I think there's a few that people will really remember. So Paul Kitson was another one. I spoke about that Monday night hat-trick at Charlton in that 4-4. We spoke about that on something a few weeks back.
Maybe that's why it stuck in my head, to be honest with you, yeah.
Marlon Harewood scored a hat-trick also on a Monday night against Aston Villa at Upton Park.
Yeah.
I think people might remember the Andy Carroll one, which was against Arsenal, because that was one of the last games at Upton Park, wasn't it?
Yep.
Nolan scored a hat-trick against Reading, and I forget who Cottee was against. Might have been Sheffield Wednesday, but it was obviously like in the mid-90s. Okay. So Tony Cottee, Paul Kitson, Marlon Harewood, Kevin Nolan, and Andy Carroll are the correct answers. Question 6 was, Alan Shearer scored 11 Premier League hat-tricks. How many of those did he score for Newcastle? Suj?
6.
The correct answer is 2.
Oh, okay.
Which I was like, what?
But then the Blackburn team that he played in used to score goals for fun.
Yeah, he got 9 for Blackburn in like 4 years. How mad is that? It
doesn't surprise me. I mean, that Blackburn team were better than the Newcastle team that he went on to play for. So,
Yes, but then he had doubled a period at Newcastle to what he had at Blackburn, and obviously,
and he had good players around him.
And obviously, the original team he joined wasn't bad, was it? With Les Ferdinand, Ginola, Robley, Peter Beardsley, Faustino, Asprilla. We might talk about that team tomorrow.
Yep.
Question 7. Marcus Spence scored a hat-trick in a game between Wigan and Blackburn in 2007. Who else scored a hat-trick in the same game?
No idea. I just put out Chris Sutton, but no idea. Yeah, he was long gone. I don't know.
For those listening to the audio rather than watching on YouTube, I basically just gave Suj the people's eyebrow.
Yeah, and I've got the shrug emoji on my face right now. No idea, mate.
The correct answer was a Blackburn player. It was Roque Santa Cruz.
He was all right as well, Roque Santa Cruz.
He was a good forward. Worst thing he did was go to Man City and then be in competition for places.
Yeah, he was not a bad player.
Blackburn at times had some good forwards. You obviously go through Sutton, Shearer, then you likes of Matt Jansen. Benny McCarthy was very good. Obviously Santa Cruz was someone else I just had in my head who's escaped me as well. But yeah, Blackburn, Craig Bellamy was good when he was at Blackburn.
Yeah.
So Blackburn had some good forwards even when they weren't challenging for the title, like through the noughties and that. Santa Cruz scored 3 it was a 5-3 win for Wigan. Santa Cruz had I think it's only 2 players score a hat-trick and be on the losing side. I forget who the other one was. Question 8. Who is the only Swede to score a hat-trick? You will kick yourself if you haven't got this, Suj.
Well, I struggled to think of Swedes that were playing in the Premier League. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I think when I do that, it's the first name that would pop into my head, actually.
He's the only name that popped into mind, so it's a 1 in a 1 chance for me. Is it the Gooner? Sexy Freddy?
Correct answer is Freddie Ljungberg.
I'll have that. You know what? You have a similar hairstyle and stuff, right? You know what? If you went down the tanning shop, you could be a little bit of a Freddie Ljungberg lookalike.
You need to go fuck yourself.
You know, all he had on you was that tan, really, a little bit golden.
He was a good-looking fella, Freddie Ljungberg. In fairness, I'll take that actually. Yes, it wasn't Henrik Larsson. Despite his brief spell at Manchester United, and Zlatan did not provide one during his spell either.
True. Both of them would have been interesting.
If you said who was the best Swede to play in the Premier League, right? Yeah, you could say recent bias and quality Ibrahimovic, but the answer is Ljungberg, isn't it? It was a brilliant little footballer.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Longevity, without a doubt. And also, like, we spoke about it. I can't remember which show we spoke about it. I remember you were saying, like, in amongst that team of Perez and Overmars and Henry and stuff, he wasn't the most skillful, but
no,
he held his own in that team regularly.
I mean, he's run from right to inside. The amount of times Bergkamp used to find him and that. He was one of the best off-the-ball players, I would say, that the Premier League has seen in terms of his running and his movement. He actually started, that Arsenal team, as much as I hate it, started trends in the way football was played. And that run from Ljungberg started trends. You see it all the time now. That's basically kind of part why we have inverted wingers as well. So often.
Yeah, true.
Not that Ljungberg was an inverted winger, but he loved that inside run. Question 9. Paolo Wanchop scored 1 Premier League hat-trick. Who did he score it for? Now, if you'd been listening earlier, it obviously couldn't be West Ham United.
Yeah, of course.
Because all of theirs were English. They only gave you an A or B. So who did you go for, Suj?
I didn't know who else he played for, mate.
Come on. It's A or B.
I'll go with B then.
Go on then.
I don't know what B is. No, I haven't got an answer, James, I'm afraid.
Bad time.
I've got a wrong answer on my piece of paper.
Is it West Ham?
No, it wasn't. I couldn't remember if I feel like he played for a club like Derby or something.
He did play for Derby County.
Okay, so I wrote down Derby, so I'm not wrong that he played for Derby.
Well, why didn't you just say that?
I wasn't sure if he had played for Derby, James.
Well, he did play for Derby. And he didn't
wrong.
And he didn't score a hat-trick for Derby.
So it's still wrong.
The correct answer is Manchester City.
Man City. He scored a hat-trick for them. When the fuck was that? Like 2000?
Early 2000s.
3?
I think it was a first game City got back into the Premier League at Main Road. He scored a hat-trick in a win against Sunderland.
Paolo Wanchop. There we go.
Question 10.
Yes.
4 Brazilians have scored Premier League hat-tricks. How many do you have, Suj?
4. But
got 4.
How many do I have correct is different.
Well, if you've got Alisson or Edison, one is wrong.
Nah, I do not.
Go on then. Who have you got?
So Bobby Firmino.
Correct.
First name off the list. Juninho.
Incorrect.
He didn't, eh?
No.
Then I went with, I'm not sure, but being a striker at Man City, Robinho.
Correct.
And then I was scraping the bottom of the barrel here a bit with Gilberto.
Bloody hell. I remember him scoring twice against Spurs, actually. Both penalties, but never a hat-trick. So no. Gilberto is incorrect. And I presume you mean Gilberto Silva of Arsenal as opposed to the shit left-back that played about 9 times for Tottenham in 2008.
If that's what you think I mean, that's what I mean, James.
The correct answers are Roberto Firmino, Robinho, Lucas Moura, scored the first hat-trick at White Hart Lane in the new White Hart Lane.
I don't think of him as a Brazilian for some reason. I don't know.
What do you think? What do you think of him as?
I don't, but I suppose he's never spoken about as the Brazilian, or is he? Because he's not one of those flair players, maybe with all the tricks and flicks necessarily. He doesn't roll off as a natural.
You mean he's a Brazilian that works hard? Are you being racist, Suj?
No, style as opposed to anything else. There you go.
The last correct answer is Afonso Alves of Middlesbrough, who scored a hat-trick in a final day 8-1 romp over Manchester City at the Riverside motherfuckers.
Okay.
So correct answers are Afonso Alves, Roberto Firmino, Lucas Moura, and Robinho. 2.
Surprised Juninho didn't get one.
I don't think he got too many braces. I think he's one of them players, Juninho, who didn't score as many goals as your memory feels like it did as well, actually.
Yeah.
Brilliant player.
Yeah.
Question 11. Which one of these non-European players has not scored a hat-trick against Liverpool? Was multiple choice of Dempsey, Lisby, and Love and Viduka. Who did you go for, Suj?
I went with the Viduka. I thought the others might be a little bit trick-questiony.
You went with Viduka. Well, Viduka's the obvious one. He got 4 against Liverpool in the famous 4-3 against Liverpool at Ellen Road in 2001, I think it was.
I thought you were trying to trick me out, James.
One of the Premier League's great games, and one of the great individual performances as well. So Viduka actually got 4 against Liverpool. Kevin Lisby scored a hat-trick for Charlton against Liverpool at the Valley. And Peter Unlove, who I couldn't recall this at all, scored a hat-trick at Anfield in the mid-90s in a 3-2 win for Coventry. The correct answer is Clint Dempsey. Clint Dempsey is the lie.
The American.
Yes. Question 12. Who was the first player from Africa, also outside Europe, to score a Premier League treble? Suj has got this one correct, I hope. You said you knew it, or you thought of someone?
No, I thought of someone, and knowing it are 2 different things, James. I went with Tony Yeboah.
Ooh, Tony Yeboah is a great shout, but wrong.
Because he would have been probably the first player to score a hat-trick of volleys from outside the area, 40 yards out. I mean, is it not Tony Yeboah?
No, Tony Yeboah had a crazy spell in 95, 96, where it felt like at the start of that season he was producing goal of season contender every other week. He's not the correct answer. The correct answer is a Nigerian who scored 4 in a game at Goodison Park, and it is Efan Ikoku.
Okay, I remember him, but I probably wouldn't have. Nah.
Okay, nah. Question 13. How many hat-tricks did Luis Suarez score against Norwich?
Good question. I remember 2, so I added 1 for one that I wouldn't remember, and I've gone with 3. I thought the answer can only be 2, 3, or 4. He's not going to score like 5 or 6, and he's not going to have scored 1. So the answer can only be 2, 3, or 4. So I remember 2, so I've added 1, and I've gone with 3, James.
3 is the correct answer. Yes,
That's a lot of goals against Norwich.
He scored 3 hat-tricks, 2 of them at Carrow Road and 1 at Anfield, which is arguably the best Premier League hat-trick ever scored. Question 14 was, who was the youngest and oldest players to score Premier League hat-tricks? Suj, both of these players are pretty famous.
Youngest, well, I was thinking, could it be Walcott? Could it be Owen? Could it be Rooney? I went with Rooney in the end.
And oldest?
Oh, now I struggled here a little bit. I just put Aguero down because he's getting on a little bit.
He's not getting on as much as the guy who scored the oldest. The youngest is Michael Owen.
Oh, it was one of them 2 buggers. It's not going to be Glenn Murray, is it, as the oldest?
No, it's older than that, mate. It's Teddy Sheringham. It's Teddy Sheringham.
Oh, Steady Teddy. Yeah.
Teddy Sheringham for Portsmouth.
What was he, about 37, 38 at the time? 36?
I think he was 37. He had a spell with you afterwards. I think it was 37. Scored a hat-trick against Bolton at Fratton Park. I think Owens was at Hillsborough against Sheffield Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, I had a sneaky, like Walcott might have snuck in and scored one early, but Owen was my second choice to Rooney. Teddy, in that spell after Portsmouth, he didn't get the most amount of game time with us.
No, Teddy, what might have been the giveaway here as well is that Teddy's the oldest scorer as well, just overall. I'm pretty sure he is.
Okay, interesting.
So who scored the only hat-trick for the 3 clubs? So just start with Burnley. It's the hardest of the 3, by the way.
I've got down Goodmanson, but I'm less.
The correct answer is Andre Gray, who scored a hat-trick a few years ago against Sunderland before moving south to Watford. Who have you got for Watford, Suj?
I've written down 2 names, James.
Pick one of the 2. In your own time.
I'm going to say Deeney because I don't like him.
Okay. What's the other name you got written down?
Delafeu.
Yeah, we should have gone with Delafeu, shouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Delafeu scored what FPL players will remember quite recently, a Friday night hat-trick at Cardiff. And for Wolves, Suj?
I'm pretty sure I owned him when he scored this in FPL. I think I did. And if I didn't, I wish I did. Jota.
Diogo Jota is the correct answer. Scored a hat-trick against Leicester in January last year, which was one of Claude Puel's final games for Leicester. God, it feels like a very, very long time ago that he managed Leicester, but it's not that long ago, which speaks a little bit volumes of what Brendan Rodgers has done there, in fairness. Yes, it's Jota. I think a lot of people might have sort of gone to Jimenez. Thought a few might have got tricked by an older one, maybe like a Stephen Fletcher, but yeah, it's Jota. It's quite recent. 16. Who was the only Scottish player to score a hat-trick this century in the Premier League?
I couldn't think of... I just went with Snodgrass, but he hasn't scored a hat-trick.
It's not Snodgrass. It's fairly recent. Hat-trick against Chelsea a few years ago at Goodison Park. The goal scorer of all 3 was Stephen Naismith.
Okay.
Scored a hat-trick against Chelsea. It's only about 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
Well, it makes me feel better that I would have never got that. So the fact that I didn't get it doesn't upset me.
All right. Suj thinks he knows 17, which was...
No.
He's
never said that.
They've just got an answer.
Yes, I just got an answer. There was a name that jumped into my mind straight away. And now I think about it, I don't really remember him being a prolific hat-trick scorer.
Okay.
But I've got Tor Andre Flo.
I think Tor Andre Flo is a decent shout, mate. It is incorrect. So the player that scored 2 hat-tricks that is Norwegian in the Premier League is Stefan Iversen. Scored a hat-trick for Spurs at Sunderland in 1997 and then in a mad game against Southampton in 2000.
Flo, did he score any hat-tricks? Must have scored 1 or 2.
Probably did get 1. But if he did, that's all he got. Question 18. I think a lot of people would have gone John Carew for that one, by the way. I thought a lot of people might. Question 18. Who scored an opening day hat-trick at Highbury against Arsenal in 1993? I think a lot of people might have got tripped up here by Mark Robbins, who scored 2 in 1992 on the opening day at Highbury. This is 1993. Do you have an answer, Suj?
I've got a question mark on my page. Was it a player called question mark?
No. The correct answer is Mickey Quinn of Coventry City. Scored a hat-trick at Highbury in a 3-0 opening day win for Coventry at Arsenal. I preferred that Arsenal a lot more than 21st century Arsenal. Question 19. Who scored the 3 goals of Manchester City's 8 against Watford in September, Suj?
This season, I think he has been an FPL fraud this season. Would you agree, James?
I think to call this footballer a fraud would be very, very harsh. But he's not.
FPL fraud.
He's not. I agree. He's not. But he hasn't been. I think for a fraud, you have to get the backing of ownership, and I don't think this guy ever really did anyway.
Okay, fair play. It was Bernardo Silva. He did get a certain amount of ownership because he came in so cheap in FPL this year. So he was like the cheap way into the Man City midfield, allied with the fact that we thought he was going to get more game time this season, potentially. He hasn't had the game time or the returns, but that was one game where early in the season, I think it would have created a little bit more of a bandwagon.
Yeah, I think if he was more highly owned and he didn't have the rotation for it. Correct answer, yes, is Bernardo Silva. So, question 20. 5 players scored 5 Premier League hat-tricks. 5 players scored 5 goal hauls in the Premier League. Can you name the 5 goalkeepers who conceded those 5 goal hauls? Go on, Serge. Have some stabs in the dark.
I've got 2 guesses here.
Yeah.
The first was Aguero scored against Newcastle, right? So I've put down Krul.
Tim Krul is correct.
Okay, so he was in goal for them. This is another one that's a complete stab in the dark. I feel like at least one of those other 5 goal hauls was against Wigan. So I've put down Chris Kirkland.
Chris Kirkland is correct.
Okay, and the other 3, I've got question marks. So I have
Can you not remember the games?
No.
Okay. So
give me the games and I'll have some stabs. And I won't give myself any points for them.
Chris Kirkland obviously conceded 5 to Jermaine Defoe in Tottenham's 9-1 win against Wigan.
Okay.
Tim Krul conceded 5 to Sergio Aguero in a 6-1 win for Man City against Newcastle. Manchester United beat Ipswich 9-0. Andy Cole was the first player to score 5 goals in a Premier League game. The
Richard
goalkeeper,
Wright?
Suj.
Richard Wright?
Definitely not Richard Wright. He also played for West Ham United.
And played for Ipswich.
Yes.
Bywater?
No, the correct answer is Craig Forrest.
Okay.
Newcastle beat Sheffield Wednesday 8-0 in Sir Bobby Robson's first home game as a manager for Newcastle. Who did Alan Shearer score the 5 against?
Sheffield Wednesday.
Against Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, you see, it feels like it's too late for Chris Woods, so it's not going to be him.
It was a bit rounder than Chris Woods.
A bit rounder. I don't know.
Correct answer is Kevin Pressman.
Okay, I do remember Kevin Pressman being a bit round. Okay.
And Dimitar Berbatov scored 5 for Manchester United in a 7-1 win against Blackburn.
Who played in goal for Blackburn? Did Bosnich play for them in goal?
No, you're wrong here. It was about 10 years after this as well.
Blackburn.
I'll keep the audio going, Suj, by revealing the answer.
Please do.
It is former England number 1, Paul Robinson.
I was trying to think if he'd moved from Leeds to there, and he had, yeah. I wouldn't have got either of those 3, so I'll take...
He had a pretty long spell at Spurs in between, by the way, mate.
Yeah.
So correct answers are Craig Forrest, Kevin Pressman, Chris Kirkland, Paul Robinson, and Tim Krul. Right, everybody, tally up your scores. And when you finish listening to the podcast, send us in your scores via tweet. Don't post pictures.
Yes. No,
thanks.
Don't.
How many have you got overall, Serge?
14, my friend. 14. I beat my 12 that I hoped for. I think that's all right, considering some of them were pretty tough. There's a few, the majority in there that I didn't get, I would have never got. The likes of Mickey Quinn and Naismith and what have you, I wouldn't have stood a chance. There were a few on the edge there. Michael Owen, taking Michael Owen over Rooney, potentially. Could have been one. Not thinking about Lucas Moura as a Brazilian, could have been another couple of points. But, 14 out of 35, I'll take it.
At least you got 5 of your 14 from the West Ham answers as well. Oh, no, you only got 4 of them, didn't you?
Four. Yeah. I got 2 letters out of the other one, right? So
that's true. Yeah.
There we go. So that was a good one, James. Thank you very much for putting together the questions on that. Do you have any idea what you fancy doing next week?
Not a clue. Not a clue. I'm thinking maybe a World Cup. I don't know. A more recent one.
Yeah, that would be good. Whatever you do let us know, because I need a bit of time to research. I only started this morning my swatting up and Wikipedia.
I love you. You don't remember shit, do you? You just come into the quiz. Oh, I better do some research. This is
the irony is that I used to have a really, really good memory, and the older I'm getting, the more is going into my brain, the less I feel like I'm remembering. But maybe it's senility or old age or whatever kicking in.
It happens to all of us.
Indeed. We'll be back at you tomorrow. We're going to be looking back at Newcastle in the 90s and 2000s and the Kevin Keegan era and all that kind of stuff before they embark on their new phase as multi-billion trillionaires and the richest club in the world. So do stay tuned for our Throwback Thursday, where we'll be looking back at them. And James will be streaming tonight. If you're a Champman FPL playing team, I'll make sure I jump on the stream and send you my wildcard, James. If you want to tear it to pieces, you're more than welcome to do so.
I just want to shout out my our friend Chris at FPL Captain with a K.
Yes.
We've changed some of the graphics and stuff.
Oh, it's exciting.
Fucking mint, mate.
Looking forward to it. And on Friday, James will be streaming again and Ask James. And perhaps it'll be a bit more of a topic of conversation around Holland and what's happened and this kind of we're creeping closer and closer to Liverpool getting shafted here, aren't we?
We are creeping closer and closer and closer to being further and further away from a football restart. The longer we go in time here, it's beginning to feel like the further away football is.
Indeed, it is. So thank you for all the support and everybody that's been jumping on on Twitter and what have you, sharing the love. We do appreciate it. And that's it. Nothing else to add other than stay safe. Ciao for now.
Yeah, be nice to each other, everyone. Cue music, man, show.